Hello, hello, hello. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to ASTRA, the daily current affairs from the Hindu. Today it is 12th of July, Friday, the Hindu. We are going with Hyderabad City Edition. So, what are the things that we have in today's current affairs? So, every Friday, the Hindu has a spotlight paper. So, in this, they will take a particular theme and they will be explaining what are the issues in this spotlight or what are the things that is there. Majorly, they will take one aspect and they will be giving it. So, here, what they gave is they are focusing on the battle for Secunderabad. So, this is speaking about the Secunderabad cantonment area as a center of debate because they wanted to merge it with Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. So this was the dispute between the so-called Cantonment Board and GHMC. This is not important for the so-called UPSC, but in municipalities, in the chapter of municipalities, we have to know how many types of um, urban governance is there. So urban areas are governed through cantonments, cantonment boards. Cantonment boards are ruled according to the so-called Indian Parliamentary Act, Cantonment Boards Act. What is a cantonment? At the place where in the Indian armed forces are stationed. So according to Parliament Act, they are stationed here. So it is like between the Parliament as well as the state legislatures. So this is something which is overlapping here. So this is written in that context, but for UPSC this is not that much relevant. So coming to the major news, Kaveri panel, Kaveri Water Regulation Committee, CWRC or Kaveri panel, asks Karnataka to ensure water flow into Tamil Nadu. This is regarding to the so-called River Kaveri and issues. So River Kaveri flows through Karnataka as well as Tamil Nadu. So here, as Karnataka is an upper riparian state, River Kaveri water, year after year, the water is declining. As a result, what Karnataka is claiming, they do not have enough water to give it to Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. But what Kaveri panel said is, you have to ensure your moral responsibility and you have to ensure our constitutional responsibility to give water to the lower riparian state, that is Tamil Nadu. NEET counseling is going to start from July 3rd week. So we are in the July 2nd week. For the next week, it is going to start. Despite Supreme Court has adjourned this to July 18th. So this is something like parallel interventions. Supreme Court is just hearing the case. So it is about to hear on July 18th. The final verdict may be given in the third week. But parallelly, government wanted not to waste the time and they started the counseling. But the question is whether this counseling is free from doubts or trust, because Supreme Court has clearly said that the exam was compromised. Unless and until the extent to which the exam was compromised, if government goes ahead with counseling, because we all know that what government's intentions are. Government clearly stated that the paper was not compromised earlier, the paper was not leaked earlier, but slowly it came to its acceptance after 1 month after the allegations. Government accepted that the paper was leaked. Now government is again keeping something like keeping the cart before the horse without waiting for the Supreme Court verdict. So we have to wait and watch how it is going to have. So nonetheless, government has given that candidature allocation may be cancelled if they came to know that there is some malpractice in his candidature. But the question is how they are going to adjust the entire system if there is some malpractice that has happened. So government should have waited until Supreme Court has given the judgment, then they should have taken the decision. So this is the first thing that is important. So you can write it in GS paper 4, where governance and aspects of governance. So look at the poor policy making of governance again. So this there you can use it along with GS paper 2 governance aspects. Going further, Khairatabad zone the municipality of inside Khairabad zone ropes in student volunteers to prevent dengue prevention. So this is utilization of student volunteers to spread awareness among the citizens to prevent dengue. This is one thing like one critical out of box thinking for social issues. For social issues. Now, where you can use these type of things? You can use these type of things in GS paper 4. You have a topic known as persuasion and influence. There you can use these type of things. Persuasion. Students are going to pursue the local population to take care of the so-called their premises so that dengue will not be spread. Next, 387 hospitals inspected in Telangana and one closed in Hyderabad. So this can be written. Written in the context of good governance, right? How to ensure GS paper 4 and GS paper 2 good governance. There you can use it. What is the proactive role that the government has to do in ensuring that all the hostels are maintaining the safety standards? Look at this. Some hostels, they are so irresponsible that they are using some rotten vegetables. They are using some rotten vegetables. So in this context, again, this can be used in GS paper 4. After this, so the next thing that we have is a man who is free from jail after 14 years dumps the children after reunion. What has happened? So a man who was in jail for 14 years was released yesterday. Now he had 4 children. He picked them up from the orphanage, and what he did after picking them up, he have left them at home and he ran away again and married another woman. So this is what he did. This clearly shows that whether prisons are really reforming the individuals or not. After coming out of prisons, the individual should be reformed. So they are reformative centers, but there is no much reform in these people. There is no much reform in these people. This shows that government has to take proactive measures in order to ensure that these people are getting some attitudinal changes. So what is it? This is the attitude of individuals to commit mistake again and again. How to change the attitude? So you can use this. The contents of attitude in GS paper 4. You have something like the first content is cognitive part, the behavior part or affective part, and the behavior part. So one of the best way to change attitude of a person is to influence, to pursue them through thought. Otherwise, to influence them through affection. Now, normally people who are just abided by the law, these people will not be listening through thoughts. These people will not be listening through emotions. So what you have to do is you have to coerce them, saying that the law will be very stringent. Coercion is the way to make sure that these people are not doing these type of activities again and again. They have to be given him some counseling and then they have to do it. So this can be used as an example of attitude, how attitude can be inculcated in people despite coercion of prisons. This coercion was not sufficient for him to learn the lesson. Even after that, he is doing this type of mistakes or he is doing this type of activities. So GS paper 4, you can use these things, examples of influence and persuasion and coercion. Next, after this, there is one case here, trial in ISRO. Recently we have seen that CBI has filed cases against the falsely implicated officers. However, there is a news that this case may be delayed further. Why the case may be delayed? Because the accused are going to challenge the cases, including the charge sheet against them. So again, because of the long judicial process, this trial, so already the case was somewhere related to 1994 or somewhere around 1994. So it is getting delayed since then. So what it has to happen is the government should proactively, or the court should proactively take up this with a special uh, focus, and then what they have to do is they have to close this. So you can write this as justice delayed is justice denied. Already the issue was longing over for a very long time. Hence, what you have to write, you can use this justice system, how this is unfolded over a period of time. Next one is secular remedy. This is speaking about the latest Supreme Court verdict seeking maintenance under the Code of Criminal Procedure for Muslim women. So court has said that Muslim women is not debarred from invoking secular remedy. So what is this? We all know that, yesterday I said this, normally Muslim, according, whenever a woman gets divorced, Section 125 of CRPC says that it is the responsibility or obligation of husband to provide maintenance to wife. To provide maintenance to wife. Way back in the year 1984 also, in the Shabano case, Supreme Court gave a similar type of thing. Supreme Court gave a similar type of judgment in Shabano case. Now what was the case? Now, in this case, a woman, Shabano, approached the Indore High Court or Madhya Pradesh High Court, saying that her husband has deserted her and she wants maintenance. But her husband, who was Muhammad Ali at that point of time, he was a great lawyer and he has said that this is not going to apply. Section 125 is not going to apply to them because they have Muslim personal laws. According to Muslim personal law, there is no mandate that the husband has to give the wife the so-called maintenance, right? So this is what the Muslim personal law says. Now, aggrieved by this clause, Shabano went to the court and she has filed a petition against her husband. Now, the High Court at that point of time and subsequently the Supreme Court upheld her challenge, and it has said that Muslim husbands has to give maintenance if they are divorcing their wives. However, there was huge political or huge backlash from the Muslim communities in the country. As a result, the Rajiv Gandhi government, unfortunately, Rajiv Gandhi government passed a law in the year 1986. They passed a law in the year 1986 known as Muslim Women's Rights in 1986 Act. So they have passed Muslim Women Divorced Rights of Women, Muslim Women Protection of Rights of Divorces Act 1986. According to Protection of Rights and Divorce Act, what it says is Muslim Women Protection on Divorce Act 1986. They have watered down the provisions of Supreme Court judgment and they said that it is okay to give the maintenance for woman or Muslim wife who is deserted by her husband only for that iddat period. What is that iddat period? The period after the divorce, the 3 months period after divorce, right? That is called iddat period. So it is okay to give during that iddat period. But according to section 125 of CRPC, what it says is, it is the responsibility of the husband to give maintenance to women and children as long as the children gets 18 years of age. As long as children gets 18 years of age, this is their obligation. So this was countered by Rajiv Gandhi, and this is where the communal politics was played by Rajiv Gandhi, and he was criticized for this. Absolutely, his critics are correct, because Rajiv Gandhi government should not have watered it down. So since then, whether this act is correct, Muslim Women Protection on Divorces Act 1986 is correct, or section 125 CRPC is correct, which one to follow? Because section 125 says maintenance has to be given for a longer period, whereas the special law that was made by Rajiv Gandhi in the year 1986 says that they have to be given only in that period, Now this was the contradiction which was present since 1986, and various high courts have given various interpretations, and yesterday the Supreme Court has cleared it finally, saying that okay, you have legal remedies here under Muslim Women Protection and Divorces Act 1986, but at the same time this should be in complementary with this section 125 CRPC. So that doesn't take away the woman just by having this. This doesn't take away the woman to ask for remedial measures under section 125 CRPC. It is like imposing both. If the woman wants to seek remedy under section 125, they can have this secular remedy under this. So this was the entire case, and this is something which is a very good or very harmonious construction of the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court, whenever they are interpreting the statutes, whenever they are interpreting the constitution, this was when two statutes are competing with themselves. There are two statutes competing. One law is this, the second law is this. They are competing with each other. When the laws are competing with each other, then the Supreme Court has every right for going for harmonious interpretation. Harmonious interpretation. And that is what Supreme Court is doing in this case. That is what the Supreme Court is getting this case. Right. So this is what the exact provisions that are happening here. Right. They have to get the maintenance or alimony, and then they will be having this. So this is a perfect example of the so-called maintaining harmonious interpretation to expand the scope of rights as well as to secularize the remedies. So this is a best example of Indian secularism, and this is best example of the so-called secularism and harmonious construction. What is harmonious construction? When two statutes are competing with each other, then maintaining the good of both or upholding the good of both is harmonious interpretation of Indian Constitution, and this was done here. So one good article. So whatever I said, it was covered in this article. The next one, can of worms. Now this is speaking about the latest fiasco that was surrounded around the NEET exam. So we all know that the NEET exam lacks transparency. Right from the beginning, there has been challenges in the NEET exam because the states have opposed it vehemently. Nonetheless, the central government has went ahead. So now the problem here is, just like the states opposing it, the trust of the people in this exam started diminishing. The trust of the exam started diminishing. Hence, when the trust of an institution is diminishing, so when the trust of an institution is diminishing, what is the way to bring back that trust? To invoke trust in the people, government should have to come forward, and they have to go a step beyond, and they have to debate these issues on public platforms, and those whoever is having doubts, they can ask the government, and all that doubts has to be removed, right? But what government is doing? Government is hurrying with the third round of or going with counseling. This is like sweeping the worms that has spilled out of the carpet. They wanted to just remove this at the quickest pace without taking moral responsibility or obligation. So government is consistently denying the fact that there is no malpractice. However, they have to prove that there is no malpractice. How? They have to have the willingness to engage with these students in public forums and provide clarifications. It is a very known thing that while conducting these type of exams, some errors might take place, because to err is human, but to forgive is divine, right? So errors may take place whenever they are going to have it. But what is the way in which government has to respond? Even though if errors are taking place, government should take the responsibility and should acknowledge and take that apology, and then they have to rectify it at the earliest. Hence, when a trust is broken for the government, the reparations for it should sometimes be utterly honest. One of the best line in today's newspaper. When trust is broken, the reparations for sometimes for it has to be bitterly honest. So long the government keeps on the so-called saying that the exam was conducted without any malpractice. Now the government is not ready to accept it, and government is going ahead without taking the so-called remedial measures. This is one of the biggest problem in this case. This is one of the biggest problem as far as this case is considered. So this is what you have. So trust is everything in governance, because in government, whenever we are going to have, what is trust? What is governance? Governance is nothing but government doing the work for the public. So whenever they are doing it, it is the trust of the public which is very, very important. Trust acts as the bridge between the government and the citizens in governance offices. Once it is broken, not only in government but even in personal life it is broken, that is going to be one of the major challenges. But in governance, this trust should be always upheld. If some wrong happens, definitely what government should do? Government should have the courage to accept it, to apologize it, and take remedial measures by addressing the problems of people on the larger scale. So this can be used as the best example for good governance in GS paper 2. You can use it as an example of good governance in GS paper 2 and GS paper 4 as well. So there you can use these type of cases. So there you can bring it. Reading the tea leaves ahead of China's third plenum. So normally China goes for conducting plenaries every year in the month of October or November. Now they have preponed it to July. So it is going to be held somewhere around July 17th to 20th. Now in this context, Mr. Narayanan, M.K. Narayanan writes what should be read from this and how that is important. First of all, to whom this is important, I will just summarize what he has written. For PSIR students, this is important. So what is the summary of this? What Mr. Narayan says is, what are the issues that China is facing as of today, and why this meeting or plenum is important, why this meeting is important, why this plenum is important for China, and how the West considers China, or what is Chinese perspective or West's perspective about China, and what India has in this, and how both China and India should cooperate. These are the things that they have written. Now, what is the problem with present day China? The present day China after COVID, during COVID, China has went with zero COVID policy. However, they couldn't contain COVID. As a result, Chinese economy started troubling down. So one of the biggest problem that today China is facing is Chinese economy is in turmoil. Chinese economy is under turmoil. Say for example, look at this. What are the problems with China today? Chinese economy is in terminal decline. So they have to change it at any cost after COVID-19. They have to turn it at any cost after COVID-19. At the same time, the West image of China is, yesterday itself in the NATO summit, the Western countries or NATO members said that China is fueling the war of Ukraine-Russia. China is fueling the border disputes along India and in the South China Sea. China is culturally homogenization all the aspects in its surroundings. China is going with a very high level head as far as it is exercising its force in the so-called Indo-Pacific regions. So in this context, so the West is very, very clear. Not only the West, even the so-called the countries surrounding China is also having a skeptical mind as far as their relationship is coming towards China, as far as their relationship is considered with China. Right. So what China is doing? China has started these initiatives like Global Developmental Initiative, Global Security Initiative, Global Civilizational Initiative. But all these initiatives is just to expand Chinese values, Chinese borders and national security. So though China is telling that we are for the world, no country is believing, because deeply designed values of China is this. They want to mix Chinese values, cultural expansionism and national security in the form of global development initiative, global security initiative, global civilizational initiative. This is not going to be accepted by the countries, particularly the West countries, and not only this, the countries which are surrounding in the so-called islands of China, in and around China. So South and East China Seas, Taiwan, they are epicenters of Chinese military and propaganda offensive. Hence, the countries are not accepting. So China is facing the problem within the country, that is economical problem, and the second problem is the problem as far as security is considered, as the neighbors is considered. So the perception about the about China from the west as well as the countries surrounding it are very low, and this makes China or this makes this meeting highly important. So in this plenum, what China is doing, China is focusing on economic matters after a very long time. In regular plenaries, what China used to do is, China used to focus on the security issues and strategic issues, but for the first time, they are exclusively focusing on economic issues. This shows that Chinese economy is in turmoil. China is really suffering from turmoil in the recent past. In the recent past, it is suffering from a lot of problems. What are the problems that China is facing? Aging population, shrinking workforce, high levels of debt, and economy that is still facing the problems. Right. So there is great deal of pessimism within China about its future. People of China themselves are having some doubts about this. As a result, this plenum is trying to bring back the hopes for the people in and around China. So now China is in the defensive mode after a very long time. This is the time for India to capture this domain, or to capture over the so-called Chinese diplomacy. So far China was very aggressive. Now what India has to do is, India is present in a very precarious situation today, where or very far better position today, because India's economy is relatively stronger at the present time compared to China, and India's population is in favor of India compared to Chinese, and India's global prospects are also very high these days. As a result, India has the advantage of taking an initiative where they can ensure that China is going to have some diplomacy in a very peaceful manner with India. So India should start the diplomatic efforts just like India has started in the year 1988 during Rajiv Gandhi time. So during Rajiv Gandhi time, Rajiv Gandhi approached China and they have ensured that there is going to be peace. And after this visit, almost 3 decades of peace contained in India and the world. So similarly, this is the time for the so-called Prime Minister Modi to embark on a new initiative. They have to send a message saying that let us go by the peaceful clauses of coexistence. If both the players are accepting it, then that is going to be one of the major things in this plenum. So in this plenum, more or less what Mr. M.K. Narayan is saying is, Chinese thought plenum is consistently, or it is very important given the context of the backdrop of Chinese economy as of today. Nonetheless, what it is speaking is, India has also one advantage here. India should utilize this opportunity of its advantage of economy, of its advantage of global stature, to engage with the diplomatic relationship with China, just like Rajiv Gandhi has did, so that the entire region will be in stability over a long period of time. This was the thing that is being spoken. So only for PSIR students, this is important. Next, breaking the taboo around men's reproductive. Now this article is speaking about the so-called the problems that men are facing as far as infertility is considered. So this is speaking about the infertility. So male infertility is considered as stigmatized issue. As a result, majority of the male counterparts will not come into the society and they will not reveal these things to the doctors or anyone, or they are not going to share it with anyone. So there is silence that is present because of this infertility, or in these infertility cases, and this is a problem which is evolving. So according to WHO, almost 60 million to 80 million couples are struggling with infertility in the world. In this, India is also having a major share. In India, almost 20 million people are facing this problem. Now, how to understand this? What are the reasons for infertility? First, we have to understand that and then we have to find out what are the measures that they have to take. So in this article they have written how to overcome the male infertility issues. Male infertility issues. The article was written by Mr. Priyanka Parekh, Indian Council for Medical Research. So what she is saying. So first understand the problem. How to understand the problem? So it is going to come out. What is male infertility? Infertility in men is due to the absence of sperms, or low sperm count, or low sperm motility, or both. So this is because of low semen or low sperms that infertility is causing. Now why they are causing? They are causing because of the changing lifestyles, various factors, first particularly stress, hormonal imbalances, genetic problems, anatomical problems, and epigenetical factors. So, and even they are related to something like exposure to infections. And external factors include pollution, indiscriminate use of pesticides, and plasticides are creating or affecting the infertility rates. So very important, why infertility is rising? Because of the internal problems such as stress, hormonal imbalance, genetic, anatomical, epigenetic factors, and external factors like pollution and indiscriminate use of pesticides in agriculture. And not only this, some habits of the people are also lifestyle problems such as diets, sleep patterns, work schedules, consumption of alcohol and tobacco are playing a very crucial role in reducing this fertility. Along with the late marriages among youth, is creating declining sperm quality. So these are the problems that are appearing. So what are the solutions for this? The first most imperative thing is to create awareness among reproductive and sexual rights. The second, during the times of school itself, they have to play a very crucial role. Parents should discuss with them, and they have to discuss, particularly father has to discuss with these things, and then they have to ensure that they are proactively engaged in some good lifestyle practices. What are the lifestyle practices? We have to eat healthy, regular sleep patterns, eliminate consumption of alcohol, tobacco, and other intoxicants. So, excessive use of mobile phones and these laptops have to be diminished. So, this is one of the major things, and stress is a major deterrent. So, do regular exercise and yoga and meditation. These three things are also going to help along with the so-called lifestyle changes. So, if we are doing this, we are going to have these issues, or we are going to solve these problems. Again, along with this, if the problem is too much, go for treatment. So, while lifestyle is preventive, so in order to cure this, we have to go for treatment, right? We have to go for the medical professionals to go for routine semen analysis, and then they have to go for these things. If we do this, millions of people who are suffering from infertility issues require informed discussions on reproductive health. So, what government has to do? Create awareness, build sexual education, and timely medical interventions are very, very important to overcome this taboo. So, where you can use this? This is for our regular understanding. All the people who are preparing for this, we have to understand this, not only for exam. The second thing that we have to understand is this can be used in essay writing. Last year they have asked a question saying that women in India, men in India are men in India are overweight because of their expectations, and girls are stressed because of something like over expectations on women, over restrictions on women have created these problems. So normally we'll speak about reproductive rights, but that will be confined only to female counterparts. But male also or men are also facing this type of problems. Hence, this article speaks about them. So this is for general understanding, and this is also for essay writing things. Next, should states get a special package outside Finance Commission? Normally, it is according to constitutional provisions. It is Finance Commission which will decide how much amount of tax devolution has to be did. According to 15th Finance Commission, total amount of tax that has to be devolved is 41% to the states. Now, if states are falling short, how they will get? they will get it through some special assistance from the so-called center. And here, as Bihar and Andhra Pradesh are today in a good position to determine NDA government, now these states are asking them to give more money and that special packages for their development. We all know that Bihar is really poor country and poor state, and in Andhra Pradesh post bifurcation they are facing some challenges. In that context, this article speaks about whether giving special assistance outside finance commission is a correct thing or not. Right. So more or less this article is speaking about how center can get. So center can give the states finances through tax devolution, through grants and special assistance. So special assistance has to be given, but only depending upon the requirement. If it opens this special assistance for every state, now all the states will ask this. Hence, it has to minimize it as far as possible. And what states has to do is, whatever the money that they are getting, they should not misutilize it. They have to use it only for those purposes for which it was given. The problem here is not money, but how effectively the states are using it. So majority of the times, the Andhra Pradesh state government has got support, but this support, though it is less, state governments have misutilized according to finance ministry. At that point of time, what they have to do is they have to overcome this misutilization. So if it is misutilization problem, then these type of packages are not going to help. Apart from that, this article also discusses about whether GST has created some dent into the revenues of the government of the states. Then definitely they say that yes, the states have lost financial autonomy because of GST implementation. Nonetheless, the government also has paid some GST compensation. That is what we have. So this is also damaging some federalism. So these people are saying that GST has its impact on the negative side along with positive side. So this is a major concept of GST, these things. So they have not dwelt in depth, but these are the two things that was given here. Next, this is regarding to the so-called floods in Assam. This is regarding to the so-called floods in Assam. Next, Prime Minister Modi has visited Russia, and there was comment from US saying that strategic autonomy cannot be present during conflict. So indirectly, India is being criticized by USA, saying that India has strategic autonomy, or India speaks about strategic autonomy, but not during the conflicts. India should take moral responsibility not to visit these countries like Russia, because Russia is the aggressor here. Now, America is extremely unhappy because of Modi's visit, because America has headed this Washington NATO summit. At this point of time, they have asked what is the need for Narendra Modi to go to Russia and say that Russia and India are friends forever. So what is the need for this? So India said that this is strategic autonomy. India has the sovereignty and India has the right to declare its strategic autonomy. But America questioned this. As a result, this is a case of escalation of some tensions between USA and India. So this is what US ambassador has said. During conflict, there is no such thing called strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy, all the countries should be united during conflict, and what they have to do is they have to fight against the aggressors being Moscow in his speech. So this is what they are saying. No intrusion recorded on camera in Jammu Kashmir, says BSF officials. We have seen fresh terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir recently. Now we all know that which is the border force. This can be used in internal security. So the border force which is maintaining the border security along Indo-Pakistan is BSF, Border Security Force. And in some areas, Indian Army is also present. So Border Security Force and Indian Army is guarding this international border, while 740 kilometers line of control is effectively bordered by Army. So normally, these are not porous borders today. Earlier, they were porous borders. Today, we have enhanced the so-called surveillance by installing some cameras. So camera installation has happened in these borders so that they wanted to ensure that they don't join. The borders will not be utilized by the terrorists to come inside India. So India hosts BIMSTEC foreign ministries amidst crisis. One of the most important thing. BIMSTEC is the group of 7 countries, that is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So all these 7 countries have met, and Mr. Jaishankar has said that this is BIMSTEC Foreign Ministers Retreat. So Mr. Myanmar said that it is imperative that we should have long-lasting solutions along with capacity building and economic cooperation in the region, so that we are going to have a common or a good say in the country, in the region. So it is a regional, we want to secure our region with more peace. In order to secure more peace in the region, what Mr. Jaishankar is saying is all the countries of BIMSTEC should be united and they have to counter the emerging challenges. But what are the challenges that BIMSTEC is facing? BIMSTEC is facing a challenge with itself, because one of the member countries, Myanmar, is not ruled democratically. There is increasing attacks by the so-called military that is present. Military junta is having major issues. So the developments of Myanmar pose a major issue to BIMSTEC. And because of the Myanmar destability, whatever the infrastructure operations that has to go in the region, they were halted because of it. So Mr. Jaishankar is asking that we have to go for something like proactive measures in order to overcome these problems. So this can be used in IR BIMSTEC Summit. Center begins efforts to implement labor codes. So the central government is thinking to implement the 4 labor codes which was passed in the year 2019 and 20, but they were not implemented so far. So what the central government is saying, so they want to have these 4 laws to get implemented. However, the trade unions are saying that these codes are having some objections from trade unions, the result being because it is not providing security to the trade unions. So what they said is, we all know that there are 4 laws. One is code on wages, code on social security, code on industrial relations, and the last one is occupational safety and health code. So these are the 4 things that they have. Now these 4 laws are criticized by the trade unions such as SEVA as well as such as the so-called Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh. Both of them said that there is no provisions which is guaranteeing the traders' right or workers' rights. So for more workers' rights, these people are asking, but central government is trying to implement this labor codes. What are the 4 labor codes? These are the 4 labor codes. So these things can be used in PM heart bleeds for victims in Ukraine, but not in Manipur, says Mighty Body. Mighty Body is unhappy that Prime Minister has visited Russia, but he has not visited Manipur so far. So this can be used again in empathy, compassion, and so something like apathy of the Prime Minister to visit these places. Food prices is not going to be, if food prices are going to increase, however, June inflation is going to be not exceeding as expected. So economists see favorable inflation. However, this is just an expectation. Official data will be released today. So no need to read today. Official data will be released today. We can on Friday. That is, today it is Friday, I think. Yeah. So they are going to release it today. Tomorrow we can discuss that. So this is what NATO's comment is. China is a decisive enabler of war, says NATO. However, China reiterated that NATO is hyping Chinese responsibility in the region, and it is America who is responsible for regional destability. So in Washington DC, the 75th anniversary of NATO is going to take place, right? All for one and one for all meeting is taking place here. In that context, they have said that they are going to supply Ukraine long-range missiles. Long-range missiles are going to be deployed in Germany from 2026. So these are the things that we have in newspaper as far as today is considered. So what are the important things? Let me quickly rewind. So China is claimed as decisive enabler of Russian-Ukraine war. This can be written in India-China relationships or Chinese global presence. After this, so apathy of Prime Minister to visit this place, you can write it. Next one is implementation of 4 labor laws, that is the code on wages, code on social security, Code on Industrial Relations, and Occupational Safety and Health Code. So, however, the trade unions are against it. India hosts BIMSTEC, one of the important article today. You have to read this from the international relations perspective. BIMSTEC is a group of 7 countries. So India has organized this foreign ministers meeting, and the Mr. Foreign Minister of our country, Mr. Jaishankar, has clearly stated that we have to be collaborative and cooperative in order to enhance the regional stability. We have to ensure that we are countering the crimes that are occurring along the borders. So together they wanted to ensure that they are going to have it. We all know that the charter of BIMSTEC has come into effect on May 20th. In that context, this is very important. This year, there will be a definite question on BIMSTEC, be it in prelims or be it in mains. So one of the most important things. Next, internal security. No border intrusion has been recorded on cameras during conflict. India-US relationship. So it started deteriorating a bit because of this visit of Prime Minister to Russia. So what these fellows are saying, during conflict there should be no strategic autonomy. Special packages outside Finance Commission, there is no much news, leave about it. But breaking the taboo around men's reproductive health is important. Along with this, reading the tea leaves, I have said secular remedy as well as can of worms. So where you can use this, I have clearly made it very clear. After that, trial in ISRO case may be delayed, justice delayed, may be justice denied. Man free from prison after 14 years dumps children. Unfortunately, there is no reformation even after staying in 14 years. So that is something which is the problem. Khairabad zone ropes in student volunteers for dengue operations. This can be written in the so-called attitudinal change. So responsibility of the government to ensure food safety can be visualized by the hostels inspection by the so-called Tamil Nadu, Hyderabad officials. Next, NEET counselling is going to start. This is poor governance mechanism by government, because if Supreme Court is going to give this judgment against them, we don't know what it is going to happen, right? So Supreme Court should not go in depth about it. First, they have to wait and watch the show. They have to wait and watch the show first. Supreme Court has to give the judgment and then they can go for it. So these are the current affairs that we have in today's Hindu. Just have a look at them at your free time. Read 1 or 2 articles, particularly on BIMSTEC. You read it. You read an article about the editorial about secularism. The third aspect that you can read is about reproductive rights of women, reproductive rights of men. So read them. That is going to be helpful. These are the things that we have in today's newspaper. Thanks for joining. I hope my voice is clear. If you have any clarifications, or if you want any clarifications from me, please make it a comment. And I am going to upload this newspaper which was edited in my Telegram group. The Telegram group is given to you in the link below, right? So what I will do is I'll wind up here. We'll join very soon with the next newspaper. Thanks for joining, guys. Have a great day.